The Awakening with Bishop E.W. Jackson on American Family Radio.
Well, we're a little short on calls today because this is the last segment, but I would like to get some in. The number is 888-589-8840. That's 888-589-8840. And if I may segue between my opening and then talking to Dr. Jessica, maybe today I can be your doctor of determination. Because I felt like that's what I had to be for my friend, his doctor of determination. We got to be determined, folks. We've got to be determined. Did you see the story about this woman who was a producer for Tucker Carlson, has been trashing him and saying that he said certain things and said that if threatened politicians, if you don't come on my show, we will destroy you. I don't believe that for a moment. When you've got the top rated program on cable news in America, you don't have to threaten anybody about coming on. They are glad to come on because they know how big an audience they're going to reach. I mean, are you kidding me? But you see, what the shows is, these people have infiltrated everything. They are behind the scenes working against the very people that they're supposed to be working for. Folks, I don't mind telling you that I've hired a lot of consultants and people to do various things with me. And I explicitly asked them, this is where I stand. Do you know anything about who I am? Okay, this is where I stand. This is who I am. Do you have a problem with that? Are you with me? Because if you're not, move on. I mean, don't mean to be mean or anything, but I don't want somebody working with me who is grumbling behind the scenes and how terrible I am and how bad I am. And then later on, they make up a bunch of stuff about me because they wanted to hurt you from the very beginning. And that's what you got. That's what apparently she was doing at Fox News. I mean, she hated Tucker Carlson every step of the way. I don't believe Tucker Carlson. Why would you threaten somebody again when you got the top-rated program in all of cable news and the most highly rated and watched program apparently in the history of cable news, and you got to threaten people to get them to come on? I mean, give me a break. They're beating each other up trying to crawl over top of each other trying to get on their program. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. But here again, that's why my friend was discouraged. That's why today I am your doctor of determination to tell you folks, you just got to be determined. We've just got to be determined we're going to win. By the way, 888-589-8840 is the number. I'm coming right to your calls. How are you all feeling about what's going on? And are any of you having thoughts about giving up or about, you know what, I mean, it's a waste of time because don't. That's what they want. You give them that, and you've basically given away the store. And we're not giving them that. 888-589-8840 is the number. All right, let's get a few calls in here. Let's go to Scott in Mississippi. Scott, welcome.
Hey, Bishop. Good to talk to you today. I got a conundrum for you. I've been wondering for quite a while why Sunday mornings are the most segregated times in American culture, and who's accountable for that. I've gotten some answers from some other pastors, and they weren't very, I didn't think they were very theologically but biblically based answers, but I understand pastors are caught between kind of a rock and a hard place. You may not be able to answer it based on what you know the scripture and what Jesus would say to us if he showed up in the middle of it. But I do know that one pastor told me they had a wonderful concert on a Thursday night that looked almost like it looked and felt like it would be in heaven. But then I bet the Sunday morning service didn't look a thing like that because they didn't make any comment about what goes on Sundays. I don't know. I listen to you on Sundays. I can't tell what it looks like or feels like, of course, over the radio, but I just trying to figure out where the best place to plug in to find out to be in a place where it's going to be the most like heaven, so I won't get culture shock when I get to heaven.
Amen. Scott, thank you for the call, my friend. Well, first of all, our church, the Called Church, is I hate the term multicultural. It's a church for all people, and we have people from all backgrounds. We call it racial, call it ancestral, but we have people from all backgrounds in our church, and that's the way I've always wanted it, because I don't believe in the concept of a black church or a white church or this church or that church. I don't believe in it. However, Let me just say this, because this is the reality we face in a fallen world. If you go to China and you go to a Chinese church, who do you think you're going to see? Chinese people. If you get a bunch of Chinese people coming to America, when they start a church, they say, well, okay, we're gonna get a church together and serve the Lord. Who are they likely to invite? Who are they likely to reach out to? The people they already know, and that's going to likely be Chinese. Some of this is not wicked. It's just demographic, some of it. But then, of course, we know when you go back in history, we have a history of intentional segregation of people. And some of it is, in particularly when it comes to black folks and white folks in America, some of that is intentional. There is this thing of the black church. You don't hear people talk about the white church anymore. I think most pastors today want people from all backgrounds in their churches, but it's not easy to accomplish, frankly. So some of it is just demographic. If you live, so for example, in a place where the population is overwhelmingly one thing, like if you go to some parts of Texas or Florida where it's overwhelmingly Hispanic, guess who you're going to find in most churches? Hispanic people. It's not because they're intentionally trying to segregate themselves. It's just the nature of the demographics circumstance that they're in. But some of it is indeed intentional, and that Jesus would condemn. Telling people they're excluded because they're not of a certain color or certain race, or that they're not welcome for that reason. That, folks, is sin. And you're right, heaven's not going to have any of that in it. You can rest assured. Thank you for the call, Scott. Let's go to Leslie in Louisiana. Leslie, welcome.
Good afternoon, Bishop. Thank you for everything that you do. We always appreciate it down here in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is basically where we are.
Amen.
So I was calling to ask, what do you think we can do in the lead up to this next presidential election to give Christians and really our country a fighting chance? I know we need to pray, but it seems like the Democrats run the same playbook all the time, and I'm not sure that conservatives do have a plan. And I'd like your input on what we can do on the ground as Christians and as Bible-believing Christians.
All right, got it, Leslie. Thank you so much for the call. I would say, well, you mentioned prayer, so that's obvious. We ought to always do that. But there are two other things. One, Leslie, is we ought not be intimidated about bringing up the potential for electoral fraud, because the left says there's no such thing, it doesn't exist, you're making it up, blah, 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 and that's a lie. In fact, I just had a story, I don't know whether I've got it handy, but I just saw a story, I think it was yesterday, about a woman convicted of election fraud in California. In California, a Democrat who was caught. I'm pretty sure it's California. I don't see the story in front of me, but I'll try to find it. Heritage Foundation has a compilation of literally hundreds, maybe thousands of cases of election fraud. We got to talk about it. And number two, we got to take over those official roles in these polling places and make sure that we have a direct line of authority over what is going on and the ability to call attention when things are not being done right. So those are two practical things that we've got to do. And you're absolutely, if we don't, they will cheat to win. Let's go to Dennis in Mississippi. Dennis, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Bishop. First time calling, brother. How you doing?
I am blessed. Dennis, good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you, buddy. I'm just giving you a call because, exemplify. I appreciate your service, sir. I'm not a serviceman, but I do appreciate your service. Thank you very much for serving and biblically and being a soldier of Christ. I do want to talk about that digital currency. That is so scary because, they're going to say so much you can go, and they're going to control how you can, what you can buy. What if we want to go, you're talking about 300 million reasons. What if I want to go buy something? They're going to stop me from buying, an AR or, anything I want to do to protect my family. So, I'm going to hang up and let you talk about it.
Well, Dennis, look, I think you are right. I think we have got to oppose anything that threatens our privacy. Again, I read an article earlier today about filming, and I think this was in Walmart's, where they're going to start filming people who buy guns. Everybody who buys guns, they're going to put on film and keep that film. So where's that film going to end up? So digital currency is the same thing. Anything that allows people to track us, as far as I am concerned, is really a stepping stone to the power of the Antichrist to track every human being and control whether we can do anything, including buy or sell, which means you can't survive without his permission. Thank you for the call, Dennis. Let's go to Jennifer in Ohio. Jennifer, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for taking my call. I'm just calling because I'm very concerned about the cable TV in my home. And, you know, I believe that one person can make a big difference, but a lot of people can make a bigger impact. So, you know, I'm going to take cable TV out of my home, stop paying $240 a month, and I'm going to donate that, save money. So maybe there's people out there listening, and they just needed some encouragement to get rid of that cable. You know, movies that you want to see.
Got it, Jennifer. Listen, nothing wrong with that. I think anytime we can take a step that helps us direct our resources toward what supports our worldview, we're doing a good thing. Thank you for the call, Jennifer. Bobby in Texas. Bobby, you don't have much time, but take us out.
Yes, Bishop. I was wondering if you heard the new speech by Robert Kennedy at the Hillsdale Liberty Conference and how he ties the bow on Dr. Fauci and this stuff.
Thank you for the call, Bobby. I read the book. I didn't see the speech. I think that Robert Kennedy is going to give Joe Biden fits. I really do. Well, that's going to do it for today, folks. This is your doctor of determination, because you must remain determined. Stand up, step up, speak up, refuse to back up, because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit, because we are on God's side.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
.5 KTXG Greenville, Dallas.
State employee, you have the opportunity to support the American Family Association through the combined federal campaign by designating a monthly payroll deduction using 12037. You help AFA continue to fight for your family. So when you complete your CFC form, remember, AFA's number is 12037. And thank you for your help.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Steve Pugh. The House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic holds a hearing about the consequences of school closures during the pandemic.
Today's panel is investigating potential political interference by the American Federation of Teachers at the CDC. Specifically, lawmakers are drilling down on language that was suggested by the union that wound up in the CDC's school reopening guidance back in 2021. And critics say the Biden administration here followed AFT's influence, not the science.
Aisha Hosni reporting. Republicans are defending House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's Limit, Save, Grow Act to address the debt limit, as Democrats accuse the Speaker of holding the U.S. economy hostage. Texas Republican Congressman Jody Arrington's message to House Democrats is that the nation's debt will haunt future generations.
I think the most vulnerable group in America are the children that have no place in this town, no lobbyists to speak of that I know of, no seat around the table, it feels like. And they're going to inherit $31 trillion in debt and counting. Who's going to speak up for them?
A bipartisan group of senators introduces a bill that would ban people under 18 from having a social media account unless they have a parent's permission. Arkansas Republican Senator Tom Cotton claims the legislation forces social media companies to make a choice.
Social media companies have a duty to help keep kids safe and parents informed, or face serious consequences.
Arrests are made in Colorado in connection to a deadly rock-throwing crime spree. Jeff Manasso has the story.
The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says multiple vehicles were hit last Wednesday night by a string of attacks in which large rocks were thrown from either a moving vehicle or from the side of the road. One of them killing a 20-year-old driver, Alexa Bartel.
We have 3 suspects in custody for their involvement in Alexa Bartel's death.
Jefferson County Sheriff spokeswoman Jackie Kelly naming 3 18-year-old high school students, Joseph Koenig, Nicholas Karolchik, and Zachary Kwok.
This is a no bond charge. This is first-degree murder, and with extreme indifference.
All 3 suspects are due in court on Thursday. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
A conservative activist says he is tired of Republicans who say that Joe Biden is a nice guy. Chad Groening has more.
Joe Biden has officially declared his candidacy for 2024. Despite abysmal poll numbers resulting from his many failed policies, the president said that he wants a second term to, as he puts it, quote, finish the job. Gary Bowers, chairman of the Campaign for Working Families. He expects Biden to run a nasty campaign.
Joe Biden and his political team are more than hypocrites. They are vicious, absolutely vicious political fighters. If I hear one more Republican say, well, I don't agree with Joe Biden, but he's a really nice guy. No, he isn't.
And Bauer says one example of Biden's treachery is how he reacted to the recent insurrection by Democrat lawmakers at the Tennessee state capitol.
What does Joe Biden do? He invites those people to the White House to be honored. There has been a breach of state capitals now in 6 different states by left-wing forces, and the same media, the same administration that condemns conservatives for demonstrating on January 6th has not said one word of disagreement or criticism of these leftist mobs that have gone into state legislatures around the country in recent weeks.
And Bauer says Biden did not invite the families of the victims of the Nashville shooter. Now he wants 4 more years. I'm Chad Groening.
A big rally from Microsoft and other big tech stocks is helping to prop up Wall Street. The S&P 500 was 0.3% higher in midday trading today. A day earlier, it fell to its worst drop in a month on worries about the strength of U.S. banks. American Family News is available online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Too busy to catch your favorite shows on the radio? Have no fear, because the AFR app is here. Download the app to have access to live broadcast, music streaming, as well as each podcast. Whether you're at work, at home, or on the go, it's easy to listen to AFR.
The AFR app is available not only for Apple and Android users, but also on Amazon Alexa and Roku.
Download the AFR app today at afr.net. We inform.
Religious freedom is about people of faith being able to live out their faith, live out their convictions, no matter where they are.
We equip.
This is a battle of worldviews.
And we activate.
We also rejoice in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope.
This is At the Core on American Family Radio.
Welcome to The Core here on American Family Radio. Good to be with you today on the program. It's our Wednesday edition of the show. I was out Monday. Well, I really was partially out. I was still here, just over the phone with Fred Jackson. I was down in Jackson, Mississippi at the state capitol there with the governor's office signing some legislation, some good legislation. There were many bills, by the way, and I went down for 2 pieces of legislation that AFA and AFA Action worked on. One of them was the age verification for pornographic explicit websites. The other was having to do with libraries and obscene material in libraries and on library databases. So those are 2 pieces of legislation that we helped with But there were other ones too that other people worked on. One of them was beefing up our foster care system and making it better for foster parents. We actually passed a foster parents Bill of Rights and built in some accountability for the childhood department of basically the social workers, the government employees that run the foster system and help place the children. We added in some accountability measures there and also doubled the adoption and foster tax credit. Both of those got doubled. So some good stuff going on down there in Jackson, Mississippi. So we were down there signing those bills on Monday. If you want to read more about that, American Family News did an in-depth report on that legislation, on me traveling down there. You can go to the podcast page later on this afternoon at afr.net and see that link to that story at afn.net. Our scripture for the day, we're in Psalm chapter 69. Psalm chapter 69, going down towards the bottom of this chapter, verses 33 through 36. For the Lord hears the needy and does not despise his own people who are prisoners. Let heaven and earth praise him, the seas and everything that moves in them. For God will save Zion and build upon the cities of Judah, and people shall dwell there and possess it. The offspring of his servants shall inherit it, and those who love his name shall dwell in it. That's Psalm chapter 69, verses 33 through 36. Well, moving into our some of our stories today, we can't help but talk about this debt ceiling vote. And I don't want to stay on it too long, but I want this to kind of take us into this overall discussion of finances. And what you're seeing, in Washington from a reckless financial standpoint, you're also seeing throughout the country. I mean, let's be honest. The consumer debt is a big deal. It's a lot of debt. So, it's not as if, the voters and the citizens got their act together on this whole debt thing and spending and finances. And, the politicians in Washington just don't know what to do, just don't know what they're doing. No, the both parties got some major problems here. Everybody thinks that, you can just pull money out of thin air. I mean, they think, the old saying is money doesn't grow on trees. Well, a lot of people think it does. And money does have part paper in the materials, but so in that sense, it literally does grow in trees. Did you know that money is also part cotton? Money has cotton in it. Our dollar bills have cotton in it. And that's why when it gets wet, it doesn't wither away. It doesn't tear as easy. It's more robust. It lasts longer. So that was an interesting fact I learned several years ago. But our nation's at over $30 trillion in debt, and nobody talks about paying it back. There actually is no plan to pay it back. And if you ask everybody in Washington, they'll be honest with you on that. And they'll say, we need this debt. We're going to keep printing it. It's good for the economy, and there's no plan to pay it back. That's the honest answer in Washington. It's very, very sad, but that's just, if we're being honest, that's being honest. I want to play this clip 4 here. This is Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma, and he's talking about how the Republicans have presented this debt limit increase, which we've got to do this, all right? So we can't act like increasing the debt limit is an option, so this is gonna happen, and all this does, folks, is it's basically like increasing your credit card limit, okay? But the thing is if you don't increase your credit card limit, you have to. I mean, most of this money is already spent anyway. So it's like a retroactively increasing your credit card limit. That's basically what this is here. So it's not optional. It's got to happen. All All right. It's just a matter of how much do we do it by. All right. And Biden and company, they just want to increase it into eternity. Basically, no limits. Whatever we want to spend, let's do it. Republicans are coming in a little less liberal. There's really no conservative position here. The conservative position would be we're gonna slash spending by 10-20% from a government standpoint. That would be the conservative position. But the